Hi guys, it's your favourite YouTuber again, Dami Solari, and you're watching DS Learning Finance. Whoa. Just out of curiosity, do you guys ever wonder how the banks make money? Do you ever wonder what they do with your money? And I know you guys get angry at the really low interest rates for savings accounts. I'm going to discuss the reasons behind this, guys. Keep watching. Before I dive in deep as to what the banks do exactly, I'm going to tell you guys this. Banks are very cunning. Very, very cunning. One word: inflation. Now, I know majority of the people out there that watch my channel do know what inflation is, but for those of you that don't know, inflation is the depreciation in the value of money. Notice the key part is not the decrease in the amount of money, it's the decrease in the value of money. A good analogy I like to think of is your everyday squash. You know, that orange squash that you can find in your mum's house in the cupboard, in the top shelf? Yeah, that is a good analogy of inflation. So when you put the squash in the glass and you add water to it, the water represents the money, and the sweetness, the flavor of the drink represents the value of the money. So the more and more water, i.e. the more and more money you add in, the duller the flavor becomes, and therefore the weaker the value of that money becomes. That's exactly how it works with inflation. You have governments that print money all the time, and because they're printing money at this rate, it therefore decreases the value of money. On average in the UK, inflation tends to increase by 3%. Let me give you guys an extreme case scenario. In Zimbabwe, this was actually pretty funny. In Zimbabwe, they had a lot of financial burden, so they decided to print money. The government decided to print some more Zimbabwean dollars. So they eventually printed so much Zimbabwean dollars to a stage where to buy one loaf of bread, you would need millions of Zimbabwean dollars. So the more and more you dilute the money, i.e. by making more money, the less value that money has. So another way of thinking about it is, if everybody in the world was to have a, I don't know, 20 carat diamond, do you think it would be worth just as much? No, it wouldn't, because the rarity of it is disappeared. The rarity of it has decreased, and then that's how you can relate that to money. So inflation rate increases on average in the UK of roughly 3% every year. So if you were to buy a 1 litre bottle now for £1 of soda, it will cost you £1 and 3p next year, and it will cost you £1 and 6p the following year. So you can see the actual value of that money has decreased, because you require more money in the second year in order to buy the same 1 litre bottle of soda. That's what inflation is. Have you guys ever looked at the interest rates that banks are offering right now? Yeah, it's pretty poor. It's like 1 to 2.5%. 2.5 is bare, is like literally a max if you're lucky. So if you relate that interest rate to the inflation rate, you can definitely see that there's a deficit, and the deficit is not in the right direction. With that said, you're technically losing money. That's why it's much better to invest. Remember, just because you have a savings account and you know that your money is increasing, doesn't necessarily mean the value of your money is increasing as well. Remember that, guys. Now I'm going to talk about what the banks do with your money. Well, imagine you, customer A, you've decided to set up a bank account. You put £100 in that bank account. Then another customer, customer B, decides to go to that same bank and borrow £100. Where do you guys think the £100 is going to come from? Yeah, banks basically take your money and lend it out to other people at higher interest rates. So customer B the bank will give customer B that £100, but at a fee, so say 10%. So customer B has to end up paying 110% after the lending period. Customer A still get a portion of this profit? No. So that's why banks are very, very cunning, because they're using your money and lending it to borrowers. I call this a triple whammy, because one, they're using your money without your permission and it's perfectly legal. Two, they're not giving you even a cut of the profit, let alone 100% of the profit, the full fat 10% on top. And three, you're still going to lose money even when you set up a savings account with them. Yeah, banks are the way forward, guys. I'm going to explain why investing will be better in terms of building interest for you. So you know that nasty 3% inflation rate that we've been talking about? Yeah, it comes back to haunt you even in investing. But the way you counteract that is by making sure your investments and the interest that you make with your investments far outweighs the inflation rate. So there are two main ways to go about doing this. Dividends, really, really easy method. You invest in a company ABC, they pay you 2 to 3% of their of that share price, and you get that money for free. This money, yes, it's brilliant because it's for free, but you can also see it as cover for that inflation rate. And 2 to 3%, to be honest, is very common, but you can reach the upper quartile, which is literally 10%. Some companies actually pay 10%. So you've got 10% of your money, 3% goes to inflation, and the remaining 7% is like yours to play around with. So that's one way. Second way is by capital gains. So you buy company ABC for £10 per share, and their shares shoot up to £12 per share. You decide to sell it at £12. You therefore make £2 profit per share, aka 20% interest on top. That 20% is wonderful because you've got obviously your inflation costs covered, and you've still got a big chunk of interest left for pure profit for yourself. Yeah. And when you use those two in conjunction with each other, a stock that's doing really well in terms of the share price is going higher and higher and higher, and you've also got that same stock that's paying you dividend, the power of using those two together is just exponential, guys, and obviously will far outweigh the benefits as opposed to putting your money in a savings account, strictly speaking, in terms of interest. Now I'm going to be the devil's advocate. If investing is so good, why don't people invest? Three main reasons, I would say. One, ignorance. Oh, the stock market won't work. Oh, investing, I don't believe it. That's child's play. Two, fear. A lot of people would much rather put their money in a bank account and love to see that money still there. And three, which I think is the biggest one, is laziness. A lot of people much rather put their money in a savings account, not have to think about doing all the hard work researching about the company, not having to think about that. People much rather do that and know that the money is still increasing. But remember what I said, it's not the money that's increasing that's important, it's the value of the money. My question now is, what side are you on? Are you on the investing side? Are you on the saving side? My take on it is that you can be on both sides. Why not split your income coming into your bank account into certain revenues to do both? It's about compromise, guys. And with that said, that's the end of my video. This one was good, wasn't it? Yep. You guys know what time it is. Before you can leave, you know what to do. Like, subscribe and share. LSS DSLNM Finance. Whoa. Bye.